Well, good afternoon, folks. And as I said yesterday, welcome to Tollymore, where the colours are looking pretty spectacular. You can probably just see some of that behind me here, even just as we're leaving the car park. So, van is parked up here somewhere, and we're just going to go for a little bit of a dilly-dander. But yeah, the colours look absolutely fantastic. So, hopefully it's a hello, pups. Hello. And it's off again. Obviously my eau de toilette cologne. So yeah, colours look really, really fabulous. So, and one of the great things I love about coming down to Tollymore, there are some, honeypot spots that people go to. I generally don't. We might have a wee wander to Foley's Bridge, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow. But I think with the colour looking so nice, I might actually play about with a little 1-400 lens. But yeah, this is looking very promising. So a couple of days bimbling around Tollymore. Let's do that thing. So as is quite often the case when autumn really gets into full bloom, it all of a sudden becomes quite challenging, well I find anyway, to pick out a clean composition. Don't get me wrong, there's some beautiful colour, and just sort of looking generally with the eye is stunning, but picking out something that kind of comes across as a 2D image can sometimes be a little bit challenging. I guess it's a little bit like when you're in a woodland full of mist. I guess you could point your camera anywhere and get an image, and I guess I could point my camera anywhere here and get an autumnal feeling image. And that's why I kind of think I'm preferring autumn just on the turn when you get little pockets of colour. Or maybe that's just me just being lazy and having the composition or having the subject jump out at me. But this is beautiful. I mean, the colours are stunning. If there is such a thing called peak autumn, I think we are kind of in there right now. So, but quite busy as well, as you would expect. Great to see some other photographers out enjoying the conditions as well. So we shall dander on and see what we can do. So as I'm walking up the river here, the light starts to kind of come through the woodland, and it's beautiful. But of course, a lot of the really lovely gnarly trees on the other side of the river, from my position, they're all backlit, and it makes for a very contrasty scene. So, and of course shooting down into the woods as well, very backlit. It's not ideal. So I'm going to try to get on the other side of the river and start shooting with the sun rather than against it. So with that sun at various points in the woodland quite harsh, what I'm looking for at the moment is, now pretty sure the sun will dip down behind the higher peaks. What we're kind of looking for is more indirect light, reflected light. Now, there was a little bit of cloud above us, but even getting in amongst some more of the sort of deeper trees and having a little bit of sort of the softer light reflected through might give us something. But yeah, the scenes back there, even though we were shooting with the sun, I felt were still a little bit too bright. I quite like that little grouping of trees there. I quite like how the light sort of casts on the shadows, and I did get an image here a couple of years ago which I quite liked. I think I converted it to black and white. But interesting as well, there's been the odd gust of wind come through and a whole bucket load of leaves are falling off, so I reckon another week or week and a half or a couple of big windy evenings and this place could be threadbare. But right, still to get the camera out of the bag, but it's been a nice walk so far. So the little scene just behind me here, now I spotted this a couple of years ago, this little sort of area, and it really appealed to me. Now the light at the moment is a little bit too harsh, coming in from the right hand side, but I think actually if we were to get a nice little sort of softer covering of cloud, I think this may work. One of the issues that we have at the moment, there's a lot of sort of specular highlights in the river. So some reflections, even with the polarizer on, some reflections in the river, and of course we've got some brighter stones. So I think actually with a little bit more evenly lit scene, I actually quite like this. Now I've gone ahead and I've made an image, and I'm probably going to hang out here for a bit and see whether the light does drop a little bit. But this is probably one to maybe come back to in the morning when things could be a little bit more evenly lit. Yeah, I'm not quite sure that scene really worked looking back on it now. Might revisit it again tomorrow if the conditions are a little bit more subdued. And then I came up and actually looking back towards that scene, there was sort of a little blast of colour. And then walking along a little bit again, there was a nice mixture of sort of still very green leaves or evergreen leaves. And then you had some leaves that were completely turned over and dying, and then some that were in the sort of throes of autumn, almost life and death and everything in between. But yeah, the conditions are, I mean, beautiful for walking, absolutely stunning. And it's really good to see lots of people out and about enjoying the woodland, but not great for photography. Now, it is only 2 o'clock, so we will start to hopefully see that sun dip down a little bit and give us a little bit more even lighting. But still nice to be out as always. And I was always going to use today just as a bimbling day. Lots of iPhone images. And again, the GoPro's probably not going to pick this up, but the human eye is it's such a fantastic bit of apparatus, because the dynamic range going on here is just beautiful. But we all know that probably shooting that with our sort of cameras, I think there would be a fair bit of work involved to bring out anything close to approaching what we're actually seeing with the eye. So we're looking for either a little flash of light, as we found last week, or hopefully a bit more even lighting. But actually looking above here, very blue skies above. So what we're looking for there is then the sun maybe to dip down. But of course, if the sun dips down behind the mountains and we don't have any clouds, maybe we won't get any reflective light. There really is no pleasing us photographers here, there's not. Right, it's dander on. So I've got myself lined up now with another shot. Still not quite sure it's working just because of the light. A couple of things that appeal to me. There's a sort of man-made fence that sort of leads through the scene, and it kind of curves sort of up on the sort of top middle of the frame. Obviously the lovely colours. There is a quite nice mixture of greens and yellows and reds. I think if anything, what I'd like, so in the middle of the frame there's a very green, obviously evergreen tree. I'd like to invert all of this colour and have all of the sort of green, more greeny foliage around the outside, and then that tree being the sort of focal point. I just don't think that the fact that it's green in the middle really acts as a very good focal point. Also, all of the light is at the top of the frame. Again, I think it's another one of those scenes that probably works better with more evenly lit light. I think the whole sort of very bright top of the frame, and you're always going to be compensating for that. And yeah, I could do a triple stacked merge image, but I just think more evenly lit conditions would actually make for a slightly better scene. Plus the fact that the composition that I think I've got set up at the moment has that focal point being the very green and not very interesting tree stroke bush. I think if that was inverted and the foliage around the outside was a little bit greener, might be better, but hey ho hey. Right, we'll wander on. So I was actually just about to wander off, and I sort of took a couple of steps back. I'd actually packed away my camera kit, and the sun has now dipped low enough that I think it's just about sort of peeking up over the mountains, but there must be a little bit of cloud in there. In fact, I'm just gonna, well, there are some people in the scene now, but I'm just gonna go ahead and fire off another quick shot there. I took a couple of steps back, and as I always do, had another look around with the iPhone, and noticed that there was probably a slightly better balanced scene, not least because there's a little bit more reflective light coming into the sort of the understory. And what I really like about it is you've got this overarching branch, and I've spoken about this before, the whole sort of how light falls on trunks of trees and gives you that nice depth with sort of light and shadow. And then through the image, just looking on the back of the screen here, through the image you've obviously got the lovely big blast of colour up on the top left hand side, but you've got that big overarching branch. And actually what really appeals to me is the three or four trees in the background, which are sort of slightly brighter, and of course then you've got the understory with the old hermitage. So yeah, quite like that actually. And now the light is actually a much softer tone, not providing any sort of harsh shadows, but we're still getting some lovely rich colours in the foliage. So glad I spotted that one. Right, I'll throw this one up, and now we'll wander on. Right guys, well, I reckon for today, that's probably going to be it. What? I hear you scream. What about Foley's Bridge and the stepping stones? Well, I might have a wee juke at Foley's Bridge tomorrow morning. You never know. But as always, I'm probably going to carry on shooting, but we'll close the vlog off here. But the colours in Tollymore today, what is it, the 9th of November, are rather beautiful. In fact, the light is quite dark and dingy in here. The light outside the woodland I can see is illuminating a lot of the trees out there, looking rather spectacular. So I'm gonna carry on mooching, and I guess we'll catch up again tomorrow from back here in Tollymore. And you never know, we might even go and take a little snapperoonie of Foley's Bridge. Right guys, as always, thanks for following along, and I guess we'll catch up tomorrow.